The Galactic Council was a vast network of species spread across the stars. They had seen the rise and fall of countless civilizations and had established an uneasy balance of power between them all. Each race brought its own strengths and technologies to the table, but in the vastness of the galaxy, one thing had always remained constant. The Council was the highest authority. No species dared challenge it, and the peaceful coexistence between these races was held together by an unspoken rule: respect the power of the Council, and no war would come. But when the message arrived from the edge of the galaxy, it was clear that something had shifted. Humanity had found a way to travel beyond their solar system, and their first deep space exploration ship had just crossed into uncharted space. The ship was massive, dwarfing any vessel the Council had seen before. Its design was sleek yet imposing, with strange markings and energy fields that pulsed like the heartbeat of a living creature. At first, the Council dismissed it as a mistake, or perhaps a misunderstanding. After all, humanity had just begun their journey into the stars. Surely they were not a threat. The first signal received from the human vessel was a simple message transmitted across the galactic channels. It was short and to the point. The message read, "We come in peace, but we demand respect." Humanity had arrived, and they made it clear that they would not be ignored. The Council representatives convened in an emergency session. The news sent waves of panic through the ranks. The humans had broken through the frontier into the unknown, and their arrival was not the usual diplomatic request or simple exploratory mission. It was something else entirely, something that could not be ignored. A species that had only just begun exploring the stars, yet had the audacity to declare itself a power to be reckoned with. The Council's response was swift, but divided. Some factions argued that the humans must be tested to prove their strength. Others called for immediate contact and diplomatic talks to avoid unnecessary conflict. Yet there was one undeniable truth: the humans were different. Their technology was beyond anything the Council had encountered before. Their ship was more than just a vehicle. It was a symbol of something new, a force in the galaxy. It could not be easily dismissed or underestimated. Rumors swirled about the ship's capabilities. Some claimed it could bend the fabric of space itself. Others said it could harness energy in ways that could wipe out entire fleets without firing a single shot. But there was no certainty, just speculation. As the debate raged on within the Council, a decision was made to investigate further. The Council dispatched a small fleet to intercept the Resolute, the human ship that had sent the message. But when the fleet arrived, they found something they hadn't expected. The human ship sat in the vastness of space like an ancient monolith, untouched by time or the dangers of the void. Its energy signatures were unlike anything the Council had ever seen. No one dared approach it at first, and then, without warning, the human ship sent another message: "We are here to make our presence known. Choose your response wisely." The message was clear: the humans would not be ignored, and their arrival would mark the beginning of something that the galaxy was not prepared for. On the edge of known space, the alien species of the Tarothi were the first to encounter humanity's arrival. They were a race known for their cunning intelligence and their advanced technology. Their ships were sleek and powerful, built to navigate the treacherous expanses of deep space without detection. They had long considered themselves the masters of the void. Their weapons were precise, their tactics flawless, but nothing could have prepared them for the Resolute. The Tarothi fleet approached cautiously, their sensors picking up strange energy signatures emanating from the human ship. It wasn't like anything they had ever seen before. It radiated power, a force unlike anything they had encountered. Even the Tarothi's most advanced scanners couldn't penetrate the energy fields that surrounded the ship. Its surface shimmered with an unnatural glow, almost as though it were alive. The closer they got, the more they realized that they were staring at something far beyond their understanding. As the Tarothi fleet drew nearer, the human ship broadcast a message once again, a short, simple statement: "We come in peace." The Tarothi Council ordered a response, but it was clear that the humans were not here to negotiate in the usual way. A sense of unease spread through the ranks of the Tarothi fleet. Leaders issued commands to prepare for possible conflict, but none knew how to engage such an unknown force. They decided to initiate communication, hoping that the humans would be open to discussion. After all, the galaxy was a vast place, and the Tarothi knew how to handle new encounters with caution. They sent a message requesting to meet in neutral space and discuss the intentions of the humans. To their surprise, the human ship responded immediately. The message was chillingly direct. "You are not welcome to approach at this time. Return to your space, or face the consequences." There was no threat, no angry tone, simply the statement of fact that humanity would not tolerate any interference without reason. The Tarothi fleet hesitated. They had dealt with warlords and conquerors before, but this felt different. Their weapons would do little against such a ship. They knew it. The vastness of the human vessel and its unknown power made them feel like insects before a mountain. The Tarothi leaders convened quickly and debated their next move. They were not a race to be intimidated, yet the human strength was undeniable. The decision was made to engage in a show of force. They would send a smaller group of ships to test the humans' reaction, a demonstration of power to see if the humans would back down. As the Tarothi fleet powered up their weapons, the tension in the air was thick. The galaxy was watching this first encounter, and no one knew what the outcome would be. However, the humans were not interested in a show of force. They had no need to prove themselves in such a manner. The Resolute simply emitted a low hum as the Tarothi ships began to approach, and without any effort from the human crew, a brilliant pulse of energy erupted from the human ship. It moved with a speed and precision that defied the laws of physics. The Tarothi fleet was immediately disabled. Their weapon systems malfunctioned, their shields fell silent, and their engines died in the cold emptiness of space. The human message followed soon after. "You were warned, but did not listen. We do not seek conflict, but we will defend ourselves, and we will not tolerate any hostility toward us." The Tarothi fleet was left drifting helplessly in space as their ships powered down one by one. The galaxy watched in shock at the display of powered humanity had just shown. No one had ever encountered such a force before, and no one could deny that the humans had just made their mark on the galaxy in a way that could never be forgotten. The news of the Tarothi fleet's defeat spread across the galaxy like wildfire. No one had expected such a swift and decisive display of power from humanity. The council was thrown into turmoil. Some members were shocked and terrified by the potential threat the humans represented, while others questioned whether humanity's actions were a form of self-defense or a statement of superiority. The once unified Council of Species was now fractured as fear and mistrust set in. Some of the more aggressive factions of the Council began to call for immediate retaliation against humanity. Their voices were loud and filled with anger at the insult they perceived in the humans' refusal to engage diplomatically. They argued that such an aggressive display of power could not be ignored, and that it was their duty to restore balance to the galaxy. However, there were those who counseled caution and diplomacy. They believed that humanity's actions, though forceful, were not necessarily a declaration of war, but a warning to the Council to respect their place in the galaxy. Debate raged for hours, with each race offering their opinion on how to respond to the humans' arrival. But despite the heated arguments, one thing was clear: the galaxy had never encountered a species like humanity. Their technology was beyond anything the Council had ever seen. Their ability to wield it even more impressive. The humans were not just another race vying for power, they were a force that could shape the stars themselves. The Council decided that a delegation would be sent to meet with the humans in person. A group of the most respected leaders and diplomats from across the galaxy would attempt to open peaceful negotiations with humanity. They hoped that by engaging the humans directly they could understand their motives and perhaps convince them to join the Council as equals instead of as a rival force. The meeting was arranged on a neutral station at the center of the galaxy, a place where no single race held dominance. The humans agreed to attend, but they made it clear that they would not be disrespected. No one was to approach their ship without invitation, and any hostile gestures would be seen as an act of war. As the delegation arrived at the meeting station, they were met with a sight that left them in awe. The Resolute sat in the distance, a looming presence that dwarfed the station itself. Its size was incomprehensible, and its energy radiated an aura of power that was impossible to ignore. The Council members were escorted aboard the human ship, where they were greeted by a small contingent of humans who exuded a quiet confidence that sent a chill down the spines of the aliens. It was clear that these humans had no fear, and they were not intimidated by the Council's power. The council representatives tried to present a unified front, but the tension in the room was palpable. The humans listened in silence, their expressions unreadable as the various alien leaders spoke of peace and cooperation. The message they presented was clear: humanity wanted no part in the council's politics. They were not interested in serving as equals, they sought only respect. After the delegation finished speaking, the humans stood and delivered a simple message: "We will listen to your proposals, but understand this. We do not seek your approval. We do not need your permission. We will shape our own future, and you will respect that." With those words, the council was left to consider their next move. The humans had made it clear that they would not be intimidated or controlled, but they had also not declared war yet. For the first time in galactic history, the balance of power had shifted, and no one knew what to expect next. The Resolute floated in space, its powerful presence casting a shadow over the galaxy's most influential races. The Council's debate had not settled into any sort of agreement, and the once proud unity among the galaxy's species was beginning to fray. Humanity's message was clear. They were not here to simply participate. They were here to make their mark, whether the Council approved or not. As days passed, a sense of unease grew among the Council's members. Their attempts at diplomacy with humanity had not been received with the warmth they were used to. The human ship's calm response was not one of submission or fear. It was simply a matter of fact. The humans had made it known that they could destroy any fleet that posed a threat without effort, but they had yet to take such drastic measures. Their reluctance to engage in open conflict only added to the Council's growing apprehension. In response, the Council convened yet again, this time with a new sense of urgency. They were not sure if humanity sought only peace or if they were preparing to dominate the galaxy. But one thing was clear: the humans could not be ignored. The Council had to act before they found themselves at the mercy of a power they could not control. The decision was made to conduct a demonstration, a show of force that would prove to the humans that the Council could not be challenged so easily. The Torothi, who had previously attempted to engage humanity, were called upon once more to lead the charge. They had the most advanced fleets in the galaxy, and their reputation for precision and strength had been well established. The Torothi commander, a cold and calculating leader, agreed to lead a fleet of their most formidable warships to confront the Resolute. The plan was to approach with overwhelming force, and if necessary, engage humanity in battle, but only as a last resort. The day arrived, and the Council's assembled fleets moved toward the Resolute. The Torothi ships led the charge, followed by several other races that had thrown their support behind this bold demonstration. The fleet was impressive, a dazzling array of warships equipped with the best weaponry the galaxy had to offer. As they approached the human vessel, the Council watched nervously from a distance, knowing that this confrontation could change the fate of the galaxy forever. As the fleet neared, the humans did nothing. The Resolute sat still, a silent observer in the vast emptiness of space. The humans did not send a warning, nor did they make any attempt to communicate. They simply waited. The Torothi fleet commander issued orders to power up their weapons and prepare for battle. The moment the Torothi ships entered range, something extraordinary happened. Without any warning, the Resolute unleashed a pulse of energy that seemed to defy the laws of physics. The shockwave moved with incredible speed, knocking out the communication systems of the Torothi ships and disabling their weapons and shields. The fleet faltered. Their coordinated attack suddenly rendered useless. Their ships floated helplessly in space, unable to fight back or even communicate. As the ships drifted, the humans broadcast a single message once again: "We have warned you, respect our space or face the consequences." The Council was left stunned. No weapons had been fired, yet the entire fleet was neutralized with minimal effort. The message was clear: humanity had just demonstrated their control over the stars, and they were not afraid to use it. But they had not chosen to destroy the fleet, they had simply disabled it, a clear reminder that while humanity could obliterate its enemies, it was not here to engage in pointless wars. For the Council members, the decision was now undeniable. They had to recognize humanity not as an equal, but as a new force that could reshape the very structure of galactic power. The Council was in chaos following the demonstration by the Resolute. No one had expected such a swift and overwhelming response. The alien fleets that had attempted to challenge humanity now floated helplessly in space, unable to defend themselves or even communicate. It was a powerful reminder of just how fragile their positions had become. The Council's power, once unquestioned, was now in jeopardy, and the galaxy's greatest civilizations began to doubt their own strength in the face of this new and unpredictable force. In the aftermath, the Council's leadership fractured even further. Some races saw humanity's actions as a necessary show of strength, a necessary challenge to the status quo of galactic politics. These factions argued that humanity had simply done what needed to be done to make a statement. They had proved that they were not to be ignored, and that their place in the galaxy was one to be respected. Others, however, saw it as an affront to their way of life, a dangerous act that threatened the delicate balance of power that had existed for centuries. They feared that humanity, if left unchecked, could unravel the fragile peace that had been maintained by the Council. Discussions became increasingly heated as each species fought to push their own agenda. The Council chamber, once a place of diplomacy and cooperation, now felt like a battleground for ideas. No one could agree on the next steps. Should they attempt further diplomacy with humanity, or should they prepare for war against a species that had already proven its superior strength? Some argued for an immediate strike, hoping to catch humanity off guard, while others believed that if they could demonstrate their own unity and power, they could challenge the humans directly. The reality, however, was far more complex. No one truly knew what humanity wanted. Their message had been clear: we come in peace, but we demand respect. But what did that really mean? Were the humans simply asserting their dominance, or were they truly seeking a place within the Council? The galaxy was divided on this issue, and every species began to question how they should move forward. Amidst the turmoil, a group of diplomatic representatives from various factions, led by the revered Vortexians, a race known for their skill in negotiation, made a bold suggestion. They proposed an assembly with the humans, not as an act of submission, but as a way to understand their true intentions. They believed that humanity's message was not one of aggression, but rather one of warning. To establish a mutual understanding before conflict could arise, the assembly would be a forum where each race could present their terms and demands, and hopefully they would find common ground. The decision was made to send a delegation to meet with humanity once again, but this time, the stakes were much higher. The galaxy was watching, and the pressure was on. Every race that had participated in the previous demonstration now feared what might happen if they failed to reach an understanding with humanity. The possibility of open war was on the horizon, and the cost of such a war was unimaginable. As the diplomatic ships traveled toward the Resolute once again, the Council members held their breath. No one knew how humanity would respond this time. Would they continue their path of silence, or would they finally reveal their true motives? The fate of the galaxy seemed to rest on the outcome of this next encounter. The day of the diplomatic assembly arrived, and the galaxy held its breath. Every faction had prepared their representatives for what they hoped would be a breakthrough with humanity. The Resolute had been moved to a neutral station in the heart of the galaxy, where all eyes were now focused. The station was a grand structure, a place where peace talks had been held for centuries. But this time, it felt different. The stakes were higher, the tension palpable as the various alien representatives arrived to meet with the humans. As the delegation approached the Resolute, the same sense of awe and unease gripped the leaders, no matter how many times they had seen it. The sheer size and power of the human vessel was overwhelming. There was no other ship like it in the galaxy. Its energy fields pulsed with an almost sentient rhythm, as though it were alive, waiting for something only it understood. The Council members filed aboard their ships in silence, their hearts heavy with the knowledge that this meeting could either avert war or ignite a conflict that would consume the galaxy. The humans welcomed the delegation aboard with the same calm confidence they had shown before. There were no grand gestures, no pomp or ceremony. The humans simply stood at attention and waited. The alien leaders were escorted into the heart of the Resolute, a large chamber where the human delegation awaited them. As the meeting began, The humans remained eerily quiet, allowing the council members to speak first. The council's representatives took turns addressing the humans, each one voicing their concern over humanity's place in the galaxy. Some asked for reassurance that the humans did not intend to dominate the galaxy. Others simply demanded that humanity adhere to the existing galactic order and laws. Each of their statements was met with the same unwavering silence from the humans. They did not respond immediately, allowing the council to voice its fears without interruption. After what felt like an eternity, the humans finally spoke. The voice of their leader, Captain Eli Drake, echoed throughout the chamber. "We understand your concerns, but understand this. We are not here to disrupt the order of the galaxy. We are not interested in ruling over others. Our intention is not to dominate, but to coexist. As equals, the galaxy is vast, and there is room for all races. But we will not allow ourselves to be subjugated any longer. The humans are no longer children in the stars. We will stand alongside you, not below you. But if you insist on forcing us into your mold, we will not hesitate to defend ourselves." The message was clear, and for the first time, the council felt the weight of humanity's resolve. It wasn't an ultimatum or a threat. It was a statement of principle. Humanity was no longer asking for permission to be a part of the galaxy. They were declaring their place within it, and would defend that place with every ounce of their power. The council representatives exchanged uneasy glances. The words had struck a chord with many. They could no longer ignore humanity's strength, nor could they dismiss the humans' desire for respect. Many had thought that humanity would simply fold under pressure, but they had underestimated the fire in the human spirit. As the meeting continued, the humans shared more of their history, their struggles, their triumphs, and their unyielding desire to explore and understand the universe. The council members listened, some with skepticism, others with grudging respect. But one thing became clear: humanity was not like any other race they had encountered before. They were a species that valued freedom, respect, and the right to carve their own path in the stars. When the meeting ended, the galaxy was left to digest the implications. Humanity had made its position known, and there was no going back. The council would either have to accept them as equals or risk alienating a power that could easily reshape the fate of the galaxy. After the assembly, the galaxy fell into a tense silence. Humanity had made its stance clear, and the council was left to process the weight of their words. Some factions were in shock, unable to accept the idea that the humans, a species so new to the stars, could demand such respect from the galaxy's oldest and most powerful races. Yet others were beginning to see the truth in humanity's words for the first time. The once unquestioned authority of the council seemed fragile, and every race was beginning to wonder if they had miscalculated their approach to humanity. The next few weeks were filled with secret meetings, as the council's leadership tried to find a way forward. Some races still called for immediate retaliation, urging a show of force to remind humanity of their place in the galaxy. But these voices were becoming fewer and less influential with each passing day. Humanity's strength and conviction were undeniable, and many began to fear the consequences of an open conflict. Those who had once been skeptical of humanity's power were now reconsidering their stance, and the mood among the galaxy's leaders was shifting. In the midst of this uncertainty, a new development emerged. Humanity was not just sitting back and waiting for the council's next move. They were taking active steps to build their own alliances throughout the galaxy. They began to send emissaries to other races, offering peaceful cooperation and the promise of shared technology and resources. Their message was clear: we do not seek to dominate, but we do seek a place where we can thrive alongside the rest of the galaxy. Some races, particularly those on the fringes of the council's power, were eager to engage with humanity. They saw the potential for mutual benefit in the form of new technologies, new opportunities, and new allies. These races had long felt neglected or oppressed by the council, and saw in humanity a new hope for change. They welcomed the humans with open arms, eager to form alliances and bolster their own positions in the galaxy. However, not all races were as welcoming. The more established powers, particularly those within the council's core, remained cautious and skeptical of humanity's true intentions. They feared that by allowing humanity to grow too powerful, They would lose their dominance over the galaxy. These races watched closely, ready to pounce on any misstep made by the humans. They saw their growing influence as a direct threat to their own authority, and they began to quietly strengthen their military forces, preparing for the worst. The Council's leadership convened once more, this time with the realization that they could not ignore humanity any longer. The question was no longer whether humanity was a threat, but what the galaxy would look like with humanity in it. The Council was no longer united. Each race was now acting in its own interest, some seeking to embrace humanity, others to resist them. The lines were being drawn, and the galaxy was on the brink of a new era of uncertainty. As the Council deliberated, humanity continued its expansion, forming alliances with races who saw their potential and shared their values. The humans' message had resonated far beyond the Council's walls, and they had found themselves with new allies who were eager to stand by their side. Humanity was no longer a newcomer to the stars. They were becoming a force to be reckoned with. The stage was set for an inevitable conflict, but it was no longer just about war. It was about power, respect, and the future of the galaxy itself. Humanity had made its mark, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The moment of reckoning had arrived. The galaxy's tensions were at their peak. Humanity's rise had triggered a cascade of events that could no longer be stopped. The Council's fracture was complete. Races that had once worked together in harmony were now divided between those who sought to welcome humanity and those who viewed them as a threat. Humanity had made their position clear, and now the galaxy would have to choose whether to accept them or risk pushing them into open conflict. The Council, in its divided state, attempted one final diplomatic meeting with humanity in a last-ditch effort to avoid war, but the representatives of the Council, though still vast in number, were no longer united in purpose. Some races had already begun forging alliances with humanity behind the scenes, while others remained entrenched in their refusal to concede power. The tension in the Council chamber was unbearable as they waited for the humans to respond. When the human delegation arrived aboard the Resolute, their presence seemed almost a final statement in itself. They were no longer the uncertain newcomers to the stars. They were the undeniable power in the room, and their confidence radiated from every crew member who stepped aboard the station. The message they carried was simple. The galaxy had to decide if it would respect humanity's right to coexist as equals or face the consequences of opposing them. The negotiations were brief and to the point. Humanity's message had not changed. We do not seek war, but we will not be ignored. We will not allow our future to be dictated by others, and we will stand for our place in the stars as equals. There was no threat in the tone, but the weight of those words hit harder than any weapon ever could. One final attempt was made by the factions who had remained resistant to humanity's place in the galaxy. They proposed a conditional agreement, offering to allow humanity some degree of autonomy, but making clear that they would retain control over the galaxy's most crucial resources and territories. They offered a treaty that would recognize humanity's right to exist, but only on the Council's terms. The human delegation listened in silence, weighing the offer before replying. This is not a negotiation. The human representative said, "We are not here to beg for scraps. We seek a seat at the table, not the leftovers. The Council cannot dictate our future, and we will not be bound by your terms. Humanity's place will be one of equality, or it will be one of independence." With that declaration, the fate of the galaxy shifted once again. Humanity had made it clear that it was no longer willing to accept the limitations imposed by the Council, and they would not be bullied into submission by the very races that had once dominated the galaxy. The Council, faced with the undeniable reality that humanity was a force of change that could not be ignored, was left with little choice. The treaty, though imperfect, was signed. Humanity would be recognized as an equal partner within the galaxy, not subject to the old rules that had long upheld the Council's dominance, but instead standing alongside it as a true power in the stars. The galaxy would never be the same again. The balance of power had shifted irrevocably. Humanity's arrival had sparked a revolution in galactic politics, and now, for the first time, the galaxy would be shaped not by the few, but by the many. Humanity's future in the stars was no longer uncertain. They were here to stay.